an RF, let's just say for Bluetooth LE to keep it simple. But they want to use that Bluetooth LE thing along with something that's already got RF PHY in
Mhm.
it for the controller, and yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah. The that's one of the good things about having the flexibility between, you don't have to pick between an end product and controller. So today you can't modify an end product and remove an RF. In the new process, you could, if it's not design locked, you could remove that RF, use a different one, and et cetera.
No, that's awesome. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for the question. If it's okay with everyone, I'd like to go ahead and move on to the modification. All right, so going into the second demo that we're going to do is the modification flow. So like the last time, you would start this process by clicking to start the Bluetooth qualification process. Just like last time as well, you're entering product details first. So this is going to be all the same product information, ability to import multiple at once, or add just an individual, and same thing for early visibility options as the last flow. The difference, I'm going to go ahead and skip this as well as the same. The difference is once you've selected that you are using existing D in your product, and apologies about that. I'm getting some echo from somebody on the call. If they could mute themselves, please. Okay. And once you've selected to use an existing DIN in your product, in this case, it says you're using a design with a BR-EDR LE core controller configuration. And your next question is, what do you want to do next? And in this example, we are taking a controller and we're adding our own host. So we're going to select to modify or add to this design. If for whatever reason you are selling the controller only, maybe it's a dongle and you're rebranding it or something, you could use this design without modification. It would warn you that this is only an LE controller. Are you sure? But in this case, we're going to go ahead and add that host. So you select it to modify or add to this design, and then you're going to get the same design information, which appears anytime a new design is created. You would confirm the TCRL package used. Again, this applies to IOPT, checking the interlayer dependencies. The interlayer dependencies would be the latest in the combination, but any new layers as well would have to go to whatever TCRL package version you select here. You would have the same design options, which I'll skip now, but we did go over in the last flow. And the next step is layer selection. So this is where you would specify the design layers, and you can enter a core configuration if you want, or you can skip this and the tool will automatically determine if you meet a core configuration. In this case, let's say, yes, I want to specify a core configuration. So we'll go ahead and zoom down. So currently only the controller layers are selected, which are based on the included design. It looks like radio is a little off here, but it could just be an issue with the mockup. Now the next question is, after you've selected to specify your core controller, which core configuration does your design support? And this is where you would say you're either a core complete or core host or core controller. Depending on what you select, it'll select and unselect different options. In this case, we're going to go ahead and select a core complete configuration. And the next question is going to be your transport. So are you a BR-EDR core complete, an LE, dual mode, HS, or HS and LE? In this case, I'm going to select a BR-EDR LE Core Complete. And then what you'll see is these layers are automatically populated with the required layers based on whatever I selected. And any new layers, so the host layers, will come up as an active TCRL package. And the one from the included design will show the existing one. And apologies, I think somebody is coming through on audio. Thank you very much. Okay, so once they've selected all the layers, now they're going to go on to IC selection. And by the way, before I move from this, I did tell, I think it may have been Kim, I can't remember who it was, but was asking this scenario where if you had selected no for I'm not starting with the design. So in this section, if you click no, it would take you directly to layer selection. So you just click no, you would still enter your design information, but it would take you directly here and nothing would be selected. So it's very much the same experience. It's just the difference is you won't have any included designs or anything pre-selected by default when you go to the screen.
All right.
Great. Okay, so where am I at? So I'm at the point where we've selected all the necessary layers for the controller and the host. And again, you'll notice the tables are split between controller and host layers. I think that makes it a little bit easier. And then we move on to IC selection. There are some changes we're making to the UI for how our consistency check works. We've heard some feedback, and it really depends on the screen size you're using. But often, your CC check will take up, a good chunk of this screen. It takes up maybe a fourth of the screen, and it's kind of hard to go back and forth while you're viewing what the error says. So what we've done is we've moved it over into a panel. So now you're going to get 3 sections on the left with the layers, the middle with the IC selections, and the right will be the consistency check. When you select it, the middle pane moves in, and you'll get the consistency check right on the right. We did this after user feedback because of what I mentioned. Sometimes people want the ability to see the errors and the X at the same time, and we feel this is less disruptive. Hopefully, everyone on this call agrees and is supportive of this change. But yeah, that's what we're planning to move forward with. Any feedback here at all on this UI? Does everyone agree this seems to be better, or any concerns?
This is Kim. I think it looks good. I think it's better than the whereas the save button.
Yeah.
Because that's always been a hassle to me, because usually we go down a side and then I want to click save and then it's on the top instead, or vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah. It's always annoying for the flow.
Yeah, and then we've heard like people with desktops.
Sorry?
No, we've heard from feedback. People with desktops didn't have as much of an issue with the CC check being too large, but if you're on a laptop screen, it would take up a tremendous amount of screen real estate. So hopefully this makes a little bit more sense for users.
Yeah, for me that was not the problem. I have a 4K screen in plenty of room, so it's just that the location of the save button for saving whatever work you're doing currently in this.
Very bottom. Yeah.
It's at the very bottom, yeah, and it would be nice if it was kind of flowing together with the consistency button or something, so you always have it on screen somewhere.
That's good feedback. I'll have to report that internally. Yeah, I don't think we've considered moving the save button here.
Yeah, we never get this kind of feedback. We should get a 40-inch screen to test it. So send it to my home.
But yeah, that is good feedback about the save button, especially some of those very long layers. I can see you don't want to scroll all the way to the bottom.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that's great feedback. I'll we'll report that internally, and we'll provide an update at least on the next call where our thoughts lie with that. But yeah, I agree that would be something beneficial, especially for these longer specifications that are coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Josh, you missed my last point. Just make sure you follow up that action item.
Request a 40-inch screen as well. I'm definitely on that one.
That's what I'm saying when we get a bug report for the automotive. So I want the car. And maybe I can.
Yeah. I like the issue from Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's the toughest thing to test it.
Will all the mandatory features still be pre-selected or grayed out so that we won't or members won't automatically or accidentally delete it?
Yes, they should be. The ones that are always mandatory should be the same. It should always be selected. And we're still going to have this option to select all mandatory ICs. It has been helpful in some cases where you want to make sure, something way downstream or in a different layer became mandatory, that you select it by selecting this option.
Okay.
So, I actually have never used that one. Does it show what's being changed in some way? So
yes,
like a different kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it would tell you, like, for example, 10 features have been added. Here's the report, and you click on it, and it'll tell you exactly what's been added.
Okay.
Yep, great questions. All right, and then a little bit different than today, where if you're going through the X experience and you run into an error, you'll see an invalid, but it can be a little difficult knowing where, what do you do next? How do you get the TCW, or where do you provide that? It's hidden currently in the review and submit page under notes. We have heard feedback that it's a little hard to find and hasn't been a great experience. What we've done is moved, if you have an invalid in your project through X inconsistency, at the bottom of that page, it will notify you that there is an error identified, and you must resolve the consistency either by changing your X or providing a TCW. So this will ensure that members are not submitting with an invalid, and not entering any information, but they have provided a test case waiver to do that. Small change, but hopefully this makes it more clear for people where to put it and what to do when they do have an error in the inconsistency. And just a quick note on the left, ever since our component integration changes about a year ago, it's been this way, but just a quick refresher. If it's light gray, that means it's an unmodified layer. That's not using an active TCRL, for example. It's unchanged from an existing design. And the ones that are blue are the either modified or new layers. So in this case, these are all coming from the core host. Okay, moving on to after we've made X selection and we've entered a TCW number, we're now going to go to test plan and documentation. Now this is where members would download the test plan, same as today, and then they would upload the test report. We have moved that onto one page. It just saves some loading from back and forth. You can download and upload right from here. And administrator fee, same as the last flow and pretty similar to today. It will, you either can pay one at a time or select from one of your available fees. And product submission. And again, this is should look very familiar, except this time under X form, you will see something where it says X inconsistencies identified. And this won't stop you from submitting. The information on TCW will be included in your design details. But this is just noting that there was an inconsistency here. If you want to provide additional comments for staff, you could. In most cases, ever since we moved to TCWs for invalids, it's pretty clear through the TCW. Any questions at all?
Yeah, Joshua, this is Michael. You show right here, you say test declaration and test reports. So is test declaration still, is that defined in the program? QPRD?
Yes. So it's still there. It's still the completed test plan.
Okay. Okay, it
Yes.
just seems weird
Yeah.
because on the previous thing, didn't seem like it was just test reports you upload or whatever. It didn't say test declaration.
I yeah, it could be mistaken on the exact language of the current tool, but we do require both. So it should be clear somewhere, even though the button is probably labeled differently.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we talked a little bit earlier on this call about the test plan validation that is taking place. All of that is still applying. In this case, there was no errors in any of the test reports, so it'll just say complete. But if there was something, invalid test report or test system wasn't used correctly, then it would indicate that description here. All right, and then same as before, this one has a TCW, but otherwise it looks the same as your prior qualification. It includes, it splits it by host to controller and X to core, and includes the TCRL of any included layers. Members would sign and attest to our agreements and submit the product. And that is it for the modification flow.
Would you please show the area where the DID is purchased?
Yes. So it's pretty much the same as the current process, but we are calling this now receipt number.
Okay. Because I
Yeah, and-
noticed the current BLS DID purchasing tool has some modification done too. One downside about the current one is that if you put in an incorrect, say, credit card information, you cannot go back there once you submit to like purchase submit.
Mhm.
You have to repeat the same information all over again, and in order to make that correction. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm not familiar with that, but we will do some testing. So you're saying when you enter credit card details and then you go to another field, you can't go back in the field and edit anything. It's like set.
meaning if I
that point.
finish the credit card information, but I give the wrong CVS, but I didn't realize that until
okay.
I submit the purchase request, and of course the credit card got declined, but I cannot go back to the place. I have to repeat
I'll redo
all
the
area
details.
all over again. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'll definitely share the feedback and kind of get their input on it. But this
Okay.
does seem something. Would you agree that it's more of a minor enhancement rather than something that's like would block
but
anyone?
But it didn't happen before. It just that once after the new way of paying through credit card is implemented in the tool, this happens. But in the
Oh,
past, it
gotcha.
didn't.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be better than before, easier than before,
Mhm.
but right now there's more work than before. That's why. Yeah, it's minor,
Gotcha.
but I just wonder.
Yeah, this may have been a consequence of changing payment processors, which we did do
Probably.
somewhat recently.
Yeah.
I'll share that
Mhm.
feedback. That might be unintended,
Okay.
but I'll see whether there's something they can do to fix that.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for
Okay.
sharing it.
Mhm.
Any other feedback before I go to the last demo flow we have here?
Yeah, I'm just looking at your screen and, the receipt number. I mean, it's the same as, I think, QDID, DID, whatever. However,
Mhm.
the expiration dates, is it year?
I noticed
or-
that as well. Yeah, I think it's just it's because this is the UX mockup where it was just an incorrect date entered here. I suspect these would be 24.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yep. All right, I'll go ahead and move on to the last flow. It should be fairly quick. Just calling out that we do have lunch starting in 3 minutes. I don't want to keep anyone there in person away from their lunch, but I'll try to go through this quickly, and if we need, we can resume after lunchtime. Does that sound good for everybody?
Yep.
So,
Okay. All right, so same as the other two flows. We're going to start the qualification process. And again, before I get in, this is an example of I'm adding a product to an existing, in today's terminology, existing listing. But I'm using an existing DN that I already have. So I'm adding a product. Okay, so we're going to select to start the qualification process. We're going to enter the product details the same as we have been doing for every other flow.
Josh, you want to show that options early visibility?
Yes,
share.
yes. This one, I mean, we had talked about this earlier, but the same option applies as well on both. So you can specify whether the product will be visible to other users in your company prior to the publication date, or whether it will be hidden until publication date itself. Yeah, thanks for calling that out, Lewis. And just like before, the option to do multiple products at once is supported. So it's not like you have to do this each time for every product. We want to make it as easy as possible. It's just more about reframing this, making it clear you are completing a product qualification. You're not just adding to an existing product qualification.
So Joshua, just a general question, and maybe you talked about this earlier, but
Mhm.
the difference now is you're only focusing on the product. Before, with Launch Studio, we have, okay, create a project, and you can create as many projects as you want, and then you take the one that you want through product qualification. And so you might have many in your draft projects. Is that still possible?
Yeah, I mean, we still have, we don't call them projects actually in the new process, but they are essentially, draft submissions. So we'll still have that. Yeah, it'll be pretty similar.
Yeah, so a lot of these products may not ever get qualified. It's just, right. I mean, it's just another, like the old project.
Exactly. They've never submitted. That would be the difference. Right.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And so up to this point, everything is very similar to what we've done in the past. When you specify the design, you're going to say, yes, I have a design. And this is where, if you enter the DN that belongs to your company, in this case, let's say I'm Samsung and I enter this DN, it'll say you provided, what you provided, and it will ask what you want to do next. And if you select to use this design without modification, so I'm not going to add a profile or something, I would move on to administrative fee, and it will just tell me and a fee is not required for this product qualification. So it's the same as today. There's no fee for additional products using the same design, but the overall look and feel is a little bit different. Overall, we're not trying to add any, additional steps or make it harder for members doing this. It's more about correcting terminology and aligning with the PRD. So after that, you would go to product submission, and you'll notice there's nothing about the receipt number will just say not required, and there's nothing about specifying the design. It's just you've entered the design details, and that's complete because you've provided a DN that you already have. Same thing as usual. It will just list the included design. We're not going to list out all the supported layers since you are just you're not creating a new design. You're just adding a new product. So we don't have all those design details. You're not entering, all those design options that you had in the other two flows. And then you would sign and submit. And that is the end of the add a product flow. I do want to make a note that we still want to make this as easy as possible to enter this. So if you're in, today what you think of as your listing and you use some option to add a product, we will try to make it as easy as possible to get into this flow and pre-populate information. But you will have, overall this kind of UI, and you will have to submit something here. Any questions at all about the add a product flow in Launch Studio or in qualification workspace?
In this situation or scenario, does the member still have the options to purchase a DID, even though the design used is identical between the products?
Mm-hmm. They do not. So currently, I think it's partially it's moving toward being a member asset rather than an individual asset. There's still some work, I think, to fully shift over that way because we do still have some, design details, and there's one contact that can administer those at the moment. It's whoever's first to complete the process. But overall, we're kind of shifting away from that design concept at the moment.
Because some of my clients, even though the pre-qualified design they used between the two products are exactly the same, but they like to manage the two products on under two different DIDs. So
Mhm.
it's for their better management, and one DID can only used by this group, and the other one can only used also by the other group. There's no confusion.
Yeah,
But
that's great feedback. The new process, we do have something called a product owner, and there is a way to manage those individual products separately. So it will look a little bit different. Maybe we can come back to this when we do review the QPRD after lunch,
sure.
and
Okay.
we can touch on that, what that look like. All right, so if there's no other questions, Louis, I think everyone over there, it's probably lunchtime now, so I don't want to take any time away from lunch. Are we still planning to meet back in an hour, or did you need a little bit more time?
I think an hour should work. So we come back and at 1:30 here. So 56 minutes. I think that works. Cool. Everyone's fine. Right.
All right, I will. I'll put up a slide, then we'll reconvene in 1 hour.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
I think more than 10 or 20 times a year. I think that's very, very. Yeah, it means a lot to us.
For us, a lot of the workflow internally is also based on getting the ICS file very early in the process, because we feed that back into our test system, and then automatically starts all the right things for us. So
One thing we didn't mention, we're going to go through QPRD. What we're going to do, we only generate test case only for required testing. It means only new and modified layers that will generate test plan. So all the one you don't modify the layers. But for you, it might not matter.
yeah, for us, it doesn't matter. It will still be because we start from scratch every time, more or less.
But your downstream customer, which your internal company, they'll be happier.
Right.
So they won't bug you. Why your components all using older TCL? No, they don't. It doesn't matter.
No doubt.
So they'll still keep whatever you have before. You don't need to worry about it, and then they can just create a test case. They will write one. So
Yeah, that part will be nice.
yeah, will be that's a big change. But we will start to introduce some IOPT tests, ensure they removing some layers. They will have some offer tests to make sure the product is working.
Right.
Cool. All right. Thanks for feedback. Anyone else have any feedback? If not, then I'll share my document. Before I do that, let me make sure I make it more readable.
So I don't know if you wanted to highlight these. I know we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier, but these are some of the benefits with the new QPRD.
Yeah. Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah. Let me do a quick recap. So we talked quite a lot about you explore the high levels. I think there's some of the summary here. Okay. Great. Okay, in high levels, so we used to have for qualification process, we always have multiple documents to support it. So you have the PLD and you have the DPD, the declaration process, and you have the compliance requirement in the core spec. And I don't mention it, we also have 10 plus board resolution to override some of the policy in PLD. To know the process, you may need to read four plus document to understand the process. So what we're gonna have, we have a single document, one place, and it's pretty simpler. Oops, Michael, but can you hear me out, folks?
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
Okay, let me check here. Yep. Can you text Michael? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Michael, you might want to rejoin. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. So one document, so the other one is the step of qualifying product is simpler and easier to follow. So we have a more strict flow when you do this scenario, we want to qualify a product, then go through this step by step. It's more step by step. Compared to current multiple documents, in PLD, you have requirement for things in different places. It's really hard to understand which one is applicable to you. But now is in one flow, and it's based on scenario, we go through this path. That's all you need to do. And the new tools, we launch will guide through the members through the process and generate only required tests. We talk about only required tests will be generated. So it means on modified layers, you're not required to do any testing. And then the flow will be more like TurboTax or a system mode guiding you through the process. Ask you a few questions, then then you can capture your information through the flow. And the flow really simple steps. So I'll show you there's 5 things you need to do, but I'm gonna walk through. Thank you. All right, the next one is members no longer need to complete reassessment every 3 years. We talk about components. You can always use it in even past 3 years. And changes to how spec application rejoin applied allow members to remove and update specification. So currently, if you have end product or subsystem have some maybe one or more than one layers have withdrawn spec implemented, you're not allowed.
What's that mean?
Thank you. So today you're not allowed to use those subsystem end product, and if you want in the new system, but you can't even use or subset it or moving it out. So in the new tools with a new policy, you can actually use them and then just remove the layer that you're withdrawing. You can either remove or update your latest spec. And Explorator apply to new and modified layer only. So if your older ones, you don't modify, touch it, those layers, you don't need to apply the Explorator. What we're planning to do is we still want to enforce Explorator, but we are going to enforce in a way is by the deprecating withdrawal spec. So for example, with PBL, CPF, some Explorator really important. I think maybe long back we have a TMAP issues or BAP, I forgot. I think BAP. So we're gonna have those spec deprecated withdrawal. So we're handled by the spec deprecation withdrawal. So simpler, so we don't need to worry too much about which one I need to upgrade, I need to move, a new change. So simpler. And the other one is higher confidence in product interoperability with updated to RLPT. I think a couple of things we talked about interlay dependencies this morning. And then we'll also talk about in RLPT test. So we're gonna at launch, we might not, I don't think we have any RPT tests, but down the road, I think PTS team already planning, implement some of the test cases to ensure interoperability. So some simple tests to make sure the profile is implemented correctly in a high level test. So I think BTI is working on those test cases. If you're interested, please feel free to go there and take a look at those test cases. And then next, the last one, more option for member to specify how the design can be used. So we got a lot of options we talked about this morning. And it design log, does it allow other members to use, and do allow other user within the same company to add a product or use it. So I think we provide more features that member demands, and I think we're addressing, I would say, most of them, the critical one, and I think this is a really big change and fix for us too. So yeah, that's a major one we highlight. Any question before I jump into the document?
Yeah, Louis, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm having audio issues, so I apologize. Yeah, so no more components, 3-year, life shelf or whatever. And yeah, as far as the IOPT, how has it been updated for Bluetooth LE? And then, what improvements have we made with regard to interoperability?
Question. So what we have today is IOPT is with legacy. If you look at the current IOPT we have, it doesn't match what it's pretty old. So the new IOPT, I think they call it IOPT 2.0. The intention there is, so for example, I support, so it's going to be based on different profile. So for example, if you're ABLCP, then they're going to create some simple test case to make sure IOPT is doing correctly. They're creating some high level test cases to ensure, I think, make sure the ABLCP is in the SDP record, and then they want to make sure you have some basic function working. That's the intention. I think still need a lot more reviewing, approval, and some testing of the test cases as well. So I think those are intentions. Did I address your question? I hope I can get more details, but I think that's what I heard from BTI.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's great to hear there's a IOPT 2.0 or whatever. I think that's very important. And something to stress for BQCs. And yeah, when you look at the difference between BR, EDR, and BLE, there's a difference. I mean, yeah, the BLE is usually much simpler, but at the same time, as far as IOPT goes, it's almost nothing there for BLE. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I think those IOPT will. Let's say if you run the test on the product once, then you'll definitely make the core and host working correctly. So I think that will be something I call it a sanity check, or I think if you test the top, then you pretty much can test most of the feature in the core, in the bottom of the lower tester. So yeah, I think that's a test approach a strategy we're planning to introduce here. Least effort, but most effective. So that's our plan right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Does the application and the withdrawal specs also indicates in the options in the special version?
Yeah. So one job show up. So before in the current launch studio now, if you have a subsystem have deprecated withdrawal spec, you are not allowed to use it. But in the new policy, you're allowed to use it, but you have to remove those withdrawal spec in your qualifications.
Okay, you can remove the withdrawn specs, and you can also use the the design. Yeah, the design. Okay.
Yeah, design, yeah.
Okay. Sense.
So the
But
whole,
it will show which spec is withdrawn was deprecation.
Yeah.
Okay.
so just like the current launch studio,
Okay.
you have the bed,
Yeah, the same is the before. Yeah, the same. Okay.
we still maintain it, yeah. And the key reason we understand the impact, how we can make it easier for the member to do.
Okay. Got it.
Any other questions? Not, then I'll make sure I have the document open. Okay, can you see my screen?
Louis, I have one question.
Yes.
So, as far as IVOPT is concerned, moving forward, how is it going to impact members who are just going to do the white labeling? Do they have to do the testing, or is it just not a requirement for white labeling side of things?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, no, it's not going to be any testing for them. If it's the white labeling, which means they're going through the single DN scenario, they're going to use single one, so no modification, no combination. So in this case, no test will be required.
IVOPT as well.
Correct. LPT will not be required in this case.
Okay.
And I want to hear your feedback. Maybe at launch, we don't have any plan. Right now, we don't. If you see any concern, we can revisit it. But I think for white labeler, we try to make sure, not much impact to them. And when I go through the document, I'll call out, the option we have right now. We're kind of we have three options here. All different options are designed for different type of members. So for the scenario we talk about white labeler, they probably have no knowledge at all. They probably just get a QDID from the supplier. So that's why the flow you're going to see is very simple. The requirement is you just need to provide the product information, and that's all. No test will be required.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, I forgot. The other one, combination will be medium level knowledge about Bluetooth. So there's some knowledge needs to do that. The bottom one, we talk about, they open the box, changing all the eggs. That one will be require a lot more knowledge. So that most likely they need a BQC to do that. Okay. So here's sorry, can someone mute you? Maybe take a look.
It's also on mute all of us. But usually it's on.
It got it fixed. All right. This is the PLD, the new PLD is called Qualification Program Reference Document. In the future, we're going to call it QPLD because you look at the bylaws and all the license agreement, it's actually called QPLD. So it's a new acronym. The version is going to be V3. We're going to call it V3. And then this one is going to have a really long abstract. The abstract is shorter, but this one, since it's a big change since we've done it before for a long time. So actually explaining about this document actually contain the compliance requirements. It's referenced in PCLA, and then this QPLD is specified in the qual process in the PCLA. There's more details about where this document coming from, because this got a lot of confusion in the past. Where was PLD? what's compliance requirement. I think this one try to address all this concern. And then this document is gonna supersede, so we can see the word supersede all the document we used to have before. In the core spec, if you see the expediratum, or not expediratum, it's core erratum, I think got approved, is changing the core spec, the compliance requirement, remove. We're gonna create a core specification, core configuration in volume 0 part D. And you can see that in that separate document. It should be in the, at 5.5 we'll have the complete we do. And then also call out other document got override and supersede. So this is one big piece we did, and then this one we can skip. Yeah, people can help out to contribute. This table of content may be simpler. First section talk about compliance introduction. We have a list of definitions. Remember, need to learn about. The other one we have compliance requirements, and then the core process here is we have really simple 5-step here. So we're going to talk through it and how member can go through. But the structure is very simple. You see, you're doing provide product details, specify the design, and then you might do a couple of different ways. And then you pay administrative fee, and then submissions, and then we do verification. So it's really simple now, 5-step, a lot, and standardized too. Because right now when you complete qualifications, you can do no testing, but you can do one reference, one design, maybe 2 or 3 or 5. And then you can do with testing, then you can do modify new, and then modify and not modify reference, and then you can do subset, you can do reassessment, all in one path, and then you see many different options you can do. So this will be much simpler way to do. It's actually 5-step, and you have different options to do, just 3 options, simpler. And then we have another section talk about qualification product database, and then we have different appendix. So we have test requirements about how to complete the testing, and we remove a lot of content from the current PIOD, which is related to how the TCLL got maintained or released. So we remove that and move to other documents called TMPD. And then we have a section that help out the transitions. How can I help out? And we have a session planning to create called combination example scenarios. We'll walk through it because it seems like the combination scenario could be complicated. So we want to provide more guidance there. All right. Stop me if you need more clarifications. So I'll go through the document quickly. For the definitions list is pretty comprehensive. Nothing really, maybe I'll pick something called out. So you might probably know what's Bluetooth core spec, qualification process is easier to define for especially for the new members. One new concept is called complete layer. So I think we kind of imply in the current process, that's what we did in the new core configuration. We defined what's a complete layer. What it means, you can't just qualify one X item. You have to implement the whole layers in order to qualify. So we call it minimal qualifiable. But in this case, we want to make sure it's clear. So it's more text here. You can read through it, but pretty much what it means is you need to implement all the required mandatory features and all the required for the mandatory features. So this is how we define it, and then the qualification will go through is based on layers to have different requirements. So it's a concept we introduced here. Other than that, I think core configuration, we talked about it this morning. That's a key concept. It's actually simpler. What we have today is we do have core configurations. We have LE audio host, LE host, LE controller. We have those core configurations, but we add something called product type. It may not mean a lot. It just means host subsystem, you have a core host configuration. So we just simplified it. So we just call everything. Yeah, you support different core configuration. This is a way how we simplified it. And then for layers, we separate one for core layer and the other one X2 core layers. So core layers, all the layers within the core spec. So which includes RFI, DAP, SM, link layer. And X2 core means any spec external core. So in this case, T map could be one, and any surface one, maybe find a better example. BAP and BAS, BAP and BAS could be different layers, but each one could be one layer. Yeah, it's one layer. Then we talk about design log, design number. We talk about this new number for replace the QDID. Keeps growing down. We introduced something, not a new term. We've been using it. It's called interlayer dependency. But just want to make sure we provide some definition here so member can understand. And then, okay, the date. We simplified the date right now. I think right now you have listing date, we have published date, then you have submission day, approval day, yada yada. Right now, what we have is, since every qualification is for product qualifications, so we only have one product publication date, so when they go to public. And the product qualification date is the date your submission got approved. So that's qualification date. So it will make things a lot simpler now. Okay, and when you go in the process, we call it product. And product included design. And after you complete the process, it will become a qualified product. And your design will have a DN assigned. Okay, receipt number, we mentioned about it earlier. So there's a new term for DID, and it's a receipt for administrative fee paid. And another update, kind of concept changes, we clarify, we call TCLL package instead of TCLL, because TCLL means just one sheet of Excel sheet in your TCLL package. So we talk about versions. Each time we release a version of TCLL is a whole package. So we call it TCLL package version. This document is more accurate. That's about it. I think those terms are existing one. I think everyone is familiar with those, like TSE, TS, test system, and other terms. Okay, so be honest, this definition list, we spent quite a lot of time to make it clear and comprehensive. So yeah, it's a lot of words there. We try to simplify one way, and then now we provide some simple text and put some reference here so we can read more about it. So we did a lot of different approach too. So this popular. One of the best one the group thing will help the member understand. Okay, so compliance requirement, we used to have 4 or 5 pages, and now is much simpler. So its compliance requirement is talk about it's for the product, completing the process, you comply with Bluetooth specifications, and you need to you must complete the following: identify the product, the design including the product, and then the Bluetooth spec that your design implement, and all features you have in your product. So, and then you need to complete the qualification process. So this is what you need to do for your product in order to get the license. So we try to simplify. I think this way is probably the best approach we came up. Instead of 4 or 5 pages, and this will call out a few things too. You need to complete the qual process. The other ones, each member responsible for ensuring the information submitted complete and accurate. I think those are standard one, but make it, yeah, doing exactly the job it should be for compliance requirement. Any questions so far? I know I'll try to move high level, but yeah.
Louis, this is Michael. And just a general question on components. We're getting rid of those, but we're requiring HCI, for subsystems to be combined. And so really, we're just getting rid of, components, but adding HCI, a requirement for qualification.
Yeah, so if I hear, I agree. I think the good observations. So if you want to create support a core configuration for core host, for example, so you need to support all the layers required plus HCI. So that's a requirement. So that's equal what you call host subsystem today. Component in this case, they would, if they don't want to call it support any core configurations, then they don't need to support HCI. I think that's the concept we have today. And then, and component, you can't have any separate layers. So you don't have any restrictions, except if you implement those different layers, there's some dependency between the implemented layers. Then you do need to make sure they don't have any inconsistency.
Okay.
But I think the component
question was,
still,
does the new system require HCI for controller and a host?
yes, that if you want to do combination, yes, you do require HCI. So for the combination scenario, but if you want to go through all other design, you want to go through all the testing, then you can use multiple components without HCI, so it's still doable. Did I answer your question?
Sorry, got off mute. You did, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I'll keep moving. So there's more licensing, the compliance requirement we talked about. This is core, the Bluetooth qualification process. Like I mentioned earlier, you have 5 steps to be completed. Every time you go through here is same five steps. The difference is the specified design could be super simple, like you just provide QDID or DN, that's it. Or you need to provide all the X selections, or you may require some testing. So but other step is the same. So we really make it simpler in this way. So first step, I'll call it, everyone will come back here, like you see the demo Josh presented. Everyone need to provide product details. And I think you also talked about, is it visible for other user in the member company? I think we talked about that. So those are new features here. And this will be a single step you see today and what we're doing today. But the difference is we put it up front. So that's the first thing. You're coming here because you have the product ready to qualify. And understand in some case you might have different product name later on. So this information you can edit it before your submission. So it's always, you can come back and edit it. So the most difficult or complicated process will be specify the design. So how we design it, like I mentioned earlier, we designed for the 3 groups of people. One with no knowledge about Bluetooth, so which is option 1 will be designed for it, and then option 2 will be have two options. One's combination for medium knowledge, and the last one is for more extensive knowledge. So the first option here, if you specify design, there's a several options you can do. So the first one is use a single existing design. You can only put one QDID or DN, or It was because we're going to support transition, so we can actually enter DID, so which just means you have multiple QDID. Then you can still add a product to do this. So it still allow. It's really simple. Just provide DN or QDID and DID. So option 2 is about you creating a new design. So one, make sure since it's a new design, you need to provide the design details like design name. Is it design log? Can other member can use it, and can other users in the company can add product to it? Yeah, this introduce this new design. And 2A we talked about earlier is about combination, combining multiple existing design without modifications. So we get feedback. How can we make it more explicit, clear? So what we've done is member can provide DN, and we make sure you select the core configuration you want to do. In the tools, we might propose some of the possible options for you to select. So that's what we plan to do. And then they need to select the TCL package versions. So in this case, because you're combining different hosts in the controller, and we need a TCL version of the core configuration X in order to check. So that's why you need to select the ones initially. We will use that requirement to ensure you're meeting those core configuration requirements. And then and it may be some IPT tests in the future. So this TCL version will be used as well. But I think, like I mentioned, at launch we won't have any. So here, a quick example would be if your core complete, you can combine with X2 core and multiple X2 core to create another core complete. And just like today, you can do core controller plus core host and plus a X2 core layers to create a core complete. And you can do host plus X2 core to become a new host, and controller and LC3 spec only to create another controller core controller. This new, and then the last one's very new is you can combine multiple X2 core layers to become one single X2 core layer. It seems like some member want to do that. They want to combine it easier to organize to pass it to the customer. Okay, so this path is simple, easy. So let's go to the next path. So next path is any other design. So we talked about you can do from scratch. You can do using any existing design, and you can modify different layers in the design you use. And you pick the TCL package version, and you have an X form to fill out. And the requirement here, you can remove layers, you can add layers, and then which TCL package version you need to use for. But new and modified layer, you must use the active version TCL. Unmodified, you can keep it as it is. So this simpler what we support today. And then after you complete both 2A or 2B, we're going to do the same check. So first, we make sure you have one or more complete layers. You have at least one or more complete layers. And then we need to check the interlay dependency between layers, including design. And we talk about, I'm adding those tags here later on today. What we plan to do is we're going to use the latest TCL version among those used at the end. So for example, all three design you use is 3 years ago. We'll pick the latest one among them. So it can still be 3 years ago to check. And then we'll check the full configuration that meets all the requirements. Then do the same thing what we do today. We're gonna have all the consistency check. Something new we introduce here is, so let's say you have your OS have LE audio, and then it turns out you're combining a controller with with no LE audio capability, no iSoft terminal in this case. So this time, so we're gonna do consistency check. We're gonna flag, hey, the LE audio, you don't have the iSoft channel to support it. So we give option to member, they can actually go back to the supplier, did they get the right controller? That happens a lot. I think we just got a correction request this morning, actually yesterday, to correct it. Or the another options, the tool gonna flag, okay, seems like those layers, the LE audio, we can help you to unselect it. So then it's gonna be automatic. If they agree, then we'll help them to unselect all the LE audio that will work. So we'll do that for the user. In this UI, gonna be really simple. If they agree, then everything automatic then. So I think this is something we try to help out you and make their qualification more accurate, like we discussed earlier, and also less impact to the members. And again, this one will be the medium and extensive high knowledge of Bluetooth spec and qualifications. Okay, so next step is then we just generate test plan for modify the new layers. And then in some scenario, we talk about IOPD may be required, but at launch we won't have it. So we only generate those test cases. And then next step is remember you complete the testing and test declaration, test report, like we're doing today. And you want to learn more details, we can go with Appendix A, which is very similar to what you have in the current PID. I can go through that later. But here we just call out those test policies. What you need to do is, yes, it's quite a lot of options too, like we do today. We try to simplify it. Unfortunately, yet we still want to open some of the key options. But yeah, the member need to still complete the new and modify layers and some test results it might be able to be used, but based on best engineering practice, if there's no change to the design, no change to the test spec, they don't need to rerun it. So I think it's kind of capture what we're doing today. And the other part is complete the testing, and then if you have any issues, you can provide TCW. That's what we're doing today. So not much change here. And then next one's pay an administrative fee. So that's very simple. I think the fee rules kind of post online here. So pretty much we have a very standard, simple fee rules as well. So that's clear here. Okay, the last one is submission. So all the submission requirements based on the step about if you're going the single existing DN options, that's the required information you provide. If you go to option 2, to A to B, those will be the information required. Then compliance folder, just we made it clear what will be required for different paths. This part we try to make it clear. So, go ahead.
The general question, has the time frame changed based on approval? Meaning you go through the process and if you got everything right, no testing process, for example, you're listed right away.
So you mean about the effective of this document timeline?
I'm just trying to understand if there is more of a delay between approval of a qualification.
Oh, you mean after you submit it, delay? Yeah, this is the next section here. So after you submit it, so the Bluetooth SIG will review the submitted materials. Most review are approved within 1 business day or automatically. So I think just like launch due today, if we don't detect any issues, we will approve automatically. And if there's some ECW or other things, yellow flag, so it probably usually take 1 day, except some could be require some X rules. We need to verify and confirm. It might take a longer time, but I think 99% will reveal, will approve automatically and or within 1 business day. Is it what you're looking for? Just want to confirm.
Hear me? Yes.
Yeah, we'll try to improve this verification process too. So definitely not something we try to make everything preventive instead. So we did a lot more test plan validations or things you submitted, want to do a quick check before you submit it. So we do that. I think Gene provided really good feedback as well. We'll try to make it more informative about the errors. But I think this part of the step we try to make it clear. And then we also talk about what we're gonna check. So we make it really transparent and detailed here. So sometimes we check if the valid and approved TCW have been provided to address the correct inconsistency. Or we check the authenticity of the test report. I think sometimes we got pretty creative test report. We need to make sure that they're accurate. And then some product materials matches the core configurations. Sometimes we see a Bluetooth speaker with only a host or just a profile. So I think that's things we are helping out to make sure things remember completely correctly. And then in some case we might reject it. Member can do. We also share how member can resolve it. So it's more example here. So those one, feel free to read it. Or I might skip it. I think in the future, probably you guys have to deal with this quite a lot. Either you provide a correct TCW, or the other one, you get the correct QPID or DN.
So this is Michael again, and I apologize. I don't see test declaration validation in here. Is that done? I think you're doing it now.
No, that's in the test requirement section. So I'm gonna go through that. I can maybe let me go. No problem. Let me go there quickly. So here's the test requirement. So it includes test case category. So cat, I think what we have Cat A, Cat B, Cat C, Cat D, and Cat X right now. So it is here. And then we have active dates. So when it become active, what does it mean? And the next one, we have test declarations. So for each test case in the test plan, a member must provide a test declaration that includes the following. I think that's what you fill out today for your test plan. Is called test declarations. So test case verdict, task, inconclusive, waive or not required, and execution day, test system and versions, test report reference, for example, file names, and then TCW when applicable. And test report could be PTS or LSS or Teledyne or other ones, the tester. So you can provide a test report for Cat A or Cat B in the test plan. So it should identify the test facility names, conduct test, and then the member for the product, provided for product, and then hardware, software versions, weapon TS versions. So those one are for test report. And exit value as well. I think some test case require the exit. So you need to also indicate that in your test report. Michael, any question about this two sections here?
No, thank you for that. I feel like the test declaration should also be defined above, but I understand it. It's not a problem.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been another discussion about it. Where should it be? Because in some case, member may not required to do any testing. So we feel like let's keep the process up there, more lean, simple. And then if you go to more difficult path, then you can read the appendix to learn more. So we'll keep the flow simpler.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. And we got a lot more information about TCW if you will learn. Yeah, I think that you can get TCW in different type of errors. You identify and report it. So once you report it, and using the EPD process, I think in Jira now you can submit your TSE and then you get a TCW approved. Then you can use it here. So this is all the details.
Louis, have you gone through the testing requirement yet?
Yeah, we skipped the last part. We just go to the test requirement because I think it's simpler because I think this is one separate session. We can always catch up. But yeah, any question for the test requirements?
Okay,
No,
can
I
you-
was.
I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I'm just wondering now with this new QPRD, under what circumstances, except for the brand new design, again, under what kind of circumstances any testing will be required?
I'm thinking right now. Okay, I want to give you a most accurate answer. So,
For instance, currently, if you're using a component design which contains any profiles, then all the profile interoperability testing has to be repeated. And in the new scenario, what condition we need to pay attention in order to decide whether any testing will be required or not?
Yeah,
I
and
see.
so Gene, that's a great question. What about the test plan? I mean, what is generated for the member so they know what they have to test?
Okay, I can address Gene's question first. So Gene, your question is when you're using component in current PID 2.3, you require to do interoperability testing, and that's called -I right now. And the problem is most of the member they're using components in the core, which means in the core spec, there's no test case, no -I test cases. So they don't need to repeat the test case at all. So when you're using component in your design, except if your component is implementing the egg profile. So in this case, we look at the data. Most of the member actually, when they use any component for the profile, they usually use profile subsystem. This way, they just reference to it. They don't need to require to run the -I interoperability test anymore. So we look at the data. Most member they don't perform interoperability test. So the new way we're gonna do is and we also look at existing -I. They're not really interoperability test. So we're gonna create a new set of IOPD really test interoperability for the pod. So that's a change we're implementing now. There's some, I would say, loophole or issue we have in the current process we try to address.
That's a very important point. Can you restate the change? I want to understand it.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's weeks or months analysis. So in short, so what you're doing today, you see using component, we talk about the interoperability test we're requiring right now. It's actually, no one's actually need to perform those interoperability tests in the current process because they use the component only limit to the core spec one, the core. And the core, you don't have any interoperability testing. You don't have any dash I. So usually what members do, they use component within the core. And when they want to use the profile spec, then what they do, they just reference the design. They don't use component, they use profile subsystem. In this case, they're not required to rerun the test. So rarely member would perform the dash I test cases. So it defeats the purpose for interoperability. So what we're introducing now in the new system, you create a new design, you require to do IOPT 2.0. So in that case, you do a high-level test, make sure everything works. And those are really real interoperability tests. Does it help, or it can provide more context to any?
It does help, but I haven't seen IOPT 2.0. And then, I mean, it's basically IOPT is based on BR. It's not it's not BTLE. So what's the difference?
Yeah, you probably refer to the current IOPT, and those are really dated. So the new version is gonna be supporting not just BLEDR, also support GAD, GAP, and they have different test interface as well. So those will be more innovative and more simpler to implement the test.
All right, thank you.
And that's opportunity. So I would not say next year we're gonna have a lot of IOPT, but I think that's at least the policy can support it. Because the current policy, I just point out, no one really required to perform those IOP dash I test cases.
So no change with the dash I or the dash C within the TCRL, right?
I heard him, BTI is planning to change all dash I to dash C because there's no difference. Actually, those dash I are dash C test cases, so they're changing that. And in the new policy, we not talk about dash I or dash C at all test case required.
Okay, thank you.
So you can see the document, we never mentioned about dash I here or dash C. So PLP 2.3 talk about dash I, dash C. So we rely on the IOPT 2.0 test. It's a tough problem to solve, and I'm glad everyone, Jean and Michael asked about it. Yes, I hope I did a good job to explain about it, but definitely a lot more behind the scenes data analysis and taking the palm and look at all the test suite. Yes, thanks to Josh and the team help out too. So this is one big discovery we find in the qual process of group.
You did, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, but just to add a quick comment to that, and Michael and Gene, I completely understand where you guys are coming from. At the moment, we're kind of saying you have to do IOPT when applicable for combinations, but we don't really expand on when that is. And part of that is going to be what Lewis mentioned at launch. We might not really have any IOPT test cases, but we are going to, improve that over time. And currently, IOPT hasn't been updated in 10 plus years. So there's going to be significant updates, and we will be covering LE and mesh in the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly my perception for the last 4 or 5 years that I've been a BQC, and I'm surprised that there's not any testing for BTLE, which is more is the predominant Bluetooth qualification stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for bringing it up. That's my question when I first joined the SAFE, and finally we get a first baby step here, and I think this we'll try to start it first and then see how I think we'll slowly introduce it because it's gonna be a lot of changes coming in, but we want to make sure the member can understand and we really rely on the BQC and BQTF here to support the change for supporting our members go through the changes.
Yeah, fully agree. For interoperability spirit.
Yeah, it's not an easy problem, especially it's a huge ecosystem here. Yeah, I think this a best strategy that we're approaching now. So, but definitely we'll get your feedback, and we're in the same ecosystem. I think we have a lot of supplier here, and you need to deal with your customer, and if you know anything, you heard about it. So we'll definitely try to see how we can incorporate the feedback. Thanks for understanding. Okay, I think let me go back. So let's say you complete your qualification, you submit it, approved. And what does it mean? So the product is called qualified product. It includes a design. In some case, you include a design or you have your own design. So we'll talk about that later. So it's going to show up in the database. It's called qualified product database. So I have two tables. One is what information going to show to different people. So there's your qualified product. So I have one column. First column is all details we have. And then second column is showing to public, which one's going to show. And then this one is showing to other members. And then the last column is, all user account under the same member or company who qualify product. So simple. So as you're going to have at the end of the new design created as part of the product submission. Excuse me. So public, they don't need to know that. I think we identify for the public, they don't need to know a lot of information that members do. If they want to know, they should apply to membership. I think, that's why, member company can see the design, the end, and then member company, everyone can see it. Submitted by user account, only the qualifying company can see it. The reason is privacy. We don't want your name show up. I think that's one thing we definitely want to protect. And product contact, that too. And product name, everyone can see it. Product website, everyone can see it. Publication date, I think only member company can see it. Application date, only qualified member can see it. The reasons, if it's before publication date, no one can see the product anyway, so it's not applicable anyway. Model number, product description, everyone can see it. Included the end, for public, no one can see it, but member company and your own company can see it. Same for all other design information. Only member company can see it. Except one option about design available for other users within the member company to use. So there's only internal can see it. The qualifying company can see it. For the X and TSOL package version, I think only member company can see it. That's the information. And then next table we created for which field allowed to update or correction. So product contact, yes, it's allowed to correct, and we have the self-serve. You can actually do that by itself. Included the end, you cannot correct it, but that's a grace period. You can look. You're allowed to do it before the publication date, so be aware. You can only change your DN before the publication date. After publication date, you're not allowed to change. And then the design name, you're allowed to change design log, design available for other users to use, you can always update it, send for the next one, design available for other users to use it within the same company. The OS6 Assist, we're continue to work on the method how we can allow member to self-serve to do that. The other one is Xform. Member can correct it. I think same thing. You can only correct it in before the publication date. Same for test declaration and report. That's all I have here, and I think we also talk about some other scenario. You may request to withdraw the qualified product from the database. So if there's some scenario you can withdraw your product, I think you do that today. You can delete it, and also you can withdraw the whole thing too. I think that's also allowed. Yeah, I think in some cases we heard about member company they have a product cancel, so they need to come back and join it. The next one, you can transfer ownership of qualified product to another member company. There's already exists process called assignment agreement form. So we also provide a link here and reference link here. So then next section is about acronym abbreviations. So before we go to the transition sections, quick summary is this is the really clean flow, a step-by-step, 5-step, what you can do and different scenario. We provide a lot of tables to make it clear and simple. I think some of the terms we try to make it simple to understand, and some we try to avoid a lot of legal issue text. So we try everything to simplify the language. We simplify the text, and then we make a step-by-step flow here. I think quite a lot of approach we try to do here. And a lot of references. So in case you need information, there's always a place you can go. So there's a reference link here. Okay, any question before I go to transition plan? Just talk about what you can do if you have your QDID or DID in your current your listing. Yeah. Okay. Here. Okay, this is section called Appendix B, transition for products qualified under BRD version 2.3 and earlier. Basically, it's talking about the Bluetooth product types defined in the earlier spec, volume show part B, and that we want to make it clear is they are no longer supporting QPLD 3.0. However, the product qualified under that version 2.3 will be used as a qualified product, including design elaborate in the following table. So what happened is, let's say your qualified product with a Bluetooth product type like control subsystem, you can use it as a qualified product, including a design that implements a core controller configurations. So pretty much controller subsystem equal core controller configuration. And then the Bluetooth SIG tools will automatically select SEC and LE SEC layers, and then lower HDI role and associated feature based on the select TCL package and support feature in the use design. A lot of text here in layperson terms. It means you plug in your QDID, you have the controller subsystem. The system will detect it. They will look at it. Oh, you have link layer or LMP, and which have some features related to some new layer introduced in, I think 5.5 is going to have the layer called SEC, and LE SEC is about security. Then we can detect it. You have it. We can directly map. Then we select it for you. So you don't need to go through, do I support it? We'll automatically grant you those selections. So we do that for you. And then I think SEC and LE SEC is one. And HCI has some changes too. So in the new core configuration, we're gonna call HCI lower for the controller. Upper will be the host HCI. So this is a new, but what we want to do, we want to make sure the users experience easy. It's hard. If you tell member to do this, it took me like 2 minutes already. But what we're gonna do, the tool is gonna handle it automatically. So that's one change. So most of the case you see you got controller, they will automatically select it, core controller configuration view, and then we'll select those file layers for you automatically. The next one, host subsystem. In this case, same thing we're gonna do. It could be a core host, and then we're gonna select upper HCI role. And product will select the core complete configuration for the users. And since this one we talked about, yeah, they have an older PLD, so they don't have SAC and every SAC, so we'll select it for them as well. And profile subsystem, in this case, it will become X2 core layers. So it depends what profile they support, then we'll claim, yeah, so your X2 core layers, and you have AVLCP, you have different ones there. Component, it can be core layers and or X2 core layers, depends what layer you implement. And it can be used all the new design sections there. One thing I want to call out, other Bluetooth product types no longer supported, like development tools, test equipment, and component not tested. I can share more background for you. We look at development tools right now. Actually, member qualifying a regular product. So all development tools, in fact, there could be a module, could be a different software. I think I saw SDK, ADK product. They actually qualify just like a normal qualification. So we evaluate. We don't need this product type anymore. And test equipment. Actually, we're looking at two options. So when we launch a system, we don't support it. So we have a couple of things we plan to do. In the BTI, they have a action item. They're going to create test equipment become qualifiable. So they add those test equipment requirement or test spec requirement in the spec. In this case, you can just qualify as a normal qualification for test equipment. And if you're really creating a test equipment, you want to do something simple, we're evaluating, maybe we can just create a licensing agreement. We can just use the trademark. You don't comply to spec. There's two options. As this qualification not really popular, so we may we probably do it after the PLE adoption. But it's some plan we try to support in the future. And component not tested, we don't support anymore. I think we only have 6 or 8 or 12 component not tested in the past 25 years. And we try to find out why they're using it. And it seems like they just don't want to test the component and get used to trademark. But then the downstream member need to run the test again. And then no one really wanted it. So it turned out it's not a popular choice. Yeah. So that's what we did. Simplification, reducing options, reducing complexity, reducing layout complexity would be the product type. Other section here talk about transition will be using a DID and QDID going through option 1. So when adding a new product to an existing DID like you do today, so you can actually enter a DID. If the DID contain multiple DN or QDID, otherwise you can enter QDID as well. So that's something we allow for the transitions. So in this case, you can. So what it means, you can for option 1, you can enter QDID, DID, or DN. B2, simpler, same thing. You can do all that too. So, except you can do DID, you can enter a lot of QDID or DN here. It's simpler this way. That's the transition plan. It used to be a lot longer, and after a few rounds of edit, I think this what matters to members, and I think those are the scenario we talked about.
Yeah,
Any questions?
This is Michael again. I just have a question about those companies who have qualified components. And are you now requiring them to requalify, with HCI and as a controller host?
No, depends. So they can still use as a core layers. So in one, I think the scenario we talk about is you have RF and RFI and then link layer, and then do you need the HCI? I think in this case, you create a new end product. I think the new term is called core complete. So you can still combine the component with different layers, and then you have the host layers there, and then you still complete the qualification. In this case, we'll still generate some test case. I expect
But-
to make sure it works.
They would have to go through a new qualification, correct?
Yeah, just like today, they still need to do that. This component required. Well, I think I don't
Yeah.
see a difference between.
It's,
That makes
yeah.
sense, but you're making a requirement that they have the HCI piece, and the controller or the host. And so therefore,
Right,
it's new X.
because currently
Um,
end product does not require HCI layer in order for the design to be qualified as an end product. So a lot of components, even though it's a controller, it does not have HCI.
I can address that. I think the answer is HCI is still required and only allow for combination scenario. Combinations, when you combine host and controller, you require the HCI to make it work. So that's why when you combine host and controller, you will not require any testing because the HCI is designed to make sure host and controller work together. And the scenario you talk about is component. In the current system, you're going through with testing path. So that way you're doing the same thing. You don't require HCI because you're creating an end product. End product, HCI is optional. So today you don't need HCI. In the new process, same thing, you're going to all other design path that using component. In this case, HCI is not required for core complete. So
Yeah.
I don't see the difference here.
Sorry about this. What's the message to those companies that have components with the new program?
Yeah, I think we're creating a communication to supplier. I think, yeah, first we want to make sure they read this new process document. And component, key things, they don't need to do reassessment. We want to call it out. Second ones, the layer, they just use like they're using today. It's no different.
But are they going to have to re-qualify or rename what they have based on the new system?
They can still use as what it is today, and I don't see a major difference. Maybe IOPT might be required in some scenario, but for the component, only change, I think major changes, they don't need to do reassessment every 3 years. Other than that, they whatever they support in the component will fit in the system to ensure interoperability. I think similar to what they're doing today. But we definitely tailor that message, make sure it's accurate. And maybe some tests may require, I'll need to do more evaluation to run through different scenario. But in general, we can do whatever you do today.
But I thought earlier, sorry, Ruiz, I just maybe I misunderstood earlier, but I thought I heard you earlier said that as long as it's a core controller, then the HCI layer has to be implemented.
Yes.
But
Uh,
but a few minutes ago, you also said if the component is going to be implemented or combined for the core complete, then HCI has no difference than the requirement right now.
I see. Maybe I shouldn't use the word combine. Combines for the combination path. So let me explain. The first one, if you're a component, you don't need to have HCI. If you're a core controller, then you need HCI layer. So that's correct. The next one is when you're using a component to create an end product, core complete. HCI is not required. So in this case, option 2B, we create all other new design, and you're using component to create all the layers required for your core complete, and then HCI is optional, but for core complete. Hope it clarified. I think it's two different concepts for combination scenario and all other new design scenario.
Luis, how about the host subsystem, a core host configuration? Do you need the HCI?
You do. If you want to create support core host configurations, HCI is required, and it's gonna call upper HCI role.
Okay, got it.
It's same for the current product type. If you're if you have host subsystem, then you require the HCI. If you have controller subsystem, you require HCI as well. If your only component support different layers, you will not require the HCI.
Luis, I have another question. I want to ask about the subset. A product being listed on the website, but they had a second generation product, they will alter some profile features. How can I do the subset in the future?
Oh, good question. I think I missed that part. I don't know. Yeah, glad you asked about it. So let me go back to. So we do support in the new process. We took that. We moved subset path. It's just another option. But what it is really you do is you're going to 2B here, create any other new design. What you do is you enter the DN, you enter the active T-cell versions in field of the XFORM. And what you do is you enter the DN. We're gonna provide a really simple UX, support all the layers. What you do is just uncheck those layers. You don't need it. Then it's same as what you do today as subset. And yeah, it's very simple. We have the UX to remove the layer and features. And we talk about this, just you removing layers. In some scenario, we may require testing. But right now, we don't have a test case yet. So in the future, we might require to ensure you really remove the layers. Did you remove correctly? Because sometimes they remove the wrong layers, or they remove they forgot to remove the required. Like BAP, you miss the AS, CDS, yeah, some other dependency layers. So you can still do subset here. And this is the text we are trying to accomplish here, try to explain about it.
Should subset treat as a new design? Does it need fees? Another qualification fees?
Yeah, I don't know. I can mention here. Yeah, I think the fee rules. Yeah, I think that's the current plan. And we look at the current subset usage is very low. I think most of the members, when they remove feature and layers, they actually using component. I think 34% of all the qualifications to do that. And then doing subset, I think we saw 7% actually doing subset. but most of them only one design, so one subset. So it means they just create a placeholder. I think really small amount, maybe 1% or less, actually utilizing subset, creating subset for the design. So in this case, very low usage we see. So that we talk about that should be combined. And it's actually a new design. It's a new set of eggs, and it may require test. So that's why I think that will make sense to do that. For the fee, I think there's some discussion about it. I'm not sure about fee, whether we require fee or not. I can address it here. I think there's some discussion going on. Once I know more details, I'll share with you the group here. Any other questions? And we have 4 minutes left, so maybe if you have any other questions, please drop us an email. We can follow up with you, and this document should be approved soon, then I can share later on. And this is pretty much I think only a couple lines we need to fix. I think this is pretty final now. But thanks for the patience and waiting. I'll keep you posted. And again, you guys are a key partner for us to launch a new program. We definitely rely on your help, and I think we'll collaborate together. And that may bring us to the next topic. Josh, can you share your screen?
Yes, just give me 1 moment to pull that back up.
Thank you. So we talk about the launch for the QPLD probably really soon. Our approval and the launch date expecting 3 months, but I'll keep it here. We're still evaluating the effective date, but that will be announced the same day we got the PLD approved. So we see this important for this group to learn about new process. So George, can you go to the next slide? So for the future BQTF group meetings, BQ as well. So upcoming 2024 face-to-face meeting, we're planning to have it in London and Seoul. I think it's based on survey we done in the past. So I think it's pre-survey we talk about when should we have face-to-face and where should we have it? Because I think every year we have 2 in North America, 1 in APAC, 1 in EMEA. And I think that we got 70+% of vote actually planning to or suggest we should have it 1 in EMEA, 1 in APAC. So that's why we picked these 2 for adoption, and BQTF was required to attend 1 of the face-to-face. So this gives them an option. They can find some place closer to them, or they want to travel abroad. So that's why we have this option. And then I want to check in with the group here. Any concern with the current requirement? I know the economy it's challenging now, but I do want to hear your feedback. Any concern for the face-to-face attending? And you understand this year, since COVID, we didn't enforce this at all. And I think we don't have to, but I want to hear your feedback. Is it the right way to do? I see a lot of new labs, and this face-to-face is really valuable, a lot of information share, a lot of feedback. I want to continue to do that and still allow joining remotely as well. But I want to hear any concern or feedback, or we can send out some survey to get your thoughts too.
Most of the day of the week, it would be nice that it's not colliding with the meetings, but that's just because I'm here for those as well. So I think I'm probably the minority in in this meeting for that. So
Apologize for it, but we'll consider see any other options.
yeah,
Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, so this says BQTFG. So is this only for BQTFs or is it also for BQCs?
It's only for BQTF. There is one of the requirements for BQTF to remain recognition. But BQPUB is optional. So, and today is a bit different than what we should do. We should separate it, but we see most of the material. I think BQC also interested in it. So that's why we combine. I'll send out a survey whether we should continue that or we should separate it in the future.
and with BQCF, you also have BF.
If I want to go to London, I can attend as a BQC, but I'm not a BQTF.
I think that's good feedback. If you're interested, I think something we can evaluate. Yes, whether we can allow the BQC to join as well, because I think it's especially with new QPLD, there's a lot of changes coming up. So I think that's better to have more member to partner together, so we can go back. But I think that's good feedback.
Is the BRTF also subjected to this requirement?
Yes, try to generalize it. So Kim also asked the same question. Yes, also BRTF requirement as well. But I give you a thought, a time to think about it. It's 3 p.m. I think we're at time. I think this is planning to support the new QPLD, and I think there's 2 locations we agreed previously. So I think we don't have any concern. I think we'll send out more information about the summit, the face-to-face meeting invitation later on. Hope to see you guys there. And I think I personally find this very valuable to host it and see you in person. And if we do the face-to-face, feel free to schedule a one-on-one time with me and my staff too. So if you have any question, we can address it in a separate meeting. All right.
Yeah, thank you guys. Great job.
Thank you for all the focus in the past 6 hours. I really appreciate it. I know different time zone for everyone. Thanks for joining, and I appreciate all the support for all process. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been a long call, and I know it's optional, so really appreciate everyone joining and attending here.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you, Joshua.
Yep, thank you, everyone.